Good afternoon, and welcome to the SRDS.com Media Pro webinar covering Seizing the Programmatic Opportunity. Here at Kantar Media, we're obviously excited about programmatic and think that most agency and marketer teams, no matter what their size, should be too. Despite this enthusiasm, we have often heard from our clients who are unsure about why it matters. They're apprehensive about all the different kinds of deals and marketplaces and how to get started. If that sounds familiar, we're here to help. We've got a lot to cover today, and we have only scheduled 30 minutes of your time. So in order to keep things moving and to make sure that we get through it all, I do respectfully ask that everyone please mute your phone line. We are planning to do our best to accommodate some time for questions at the end of the webinar. So please submit your questions as you have them via the WebEx chat box to the host of the meeting. I will be honest though, guys, we have a full agenda and only half an hour, so we may need to address your questions offline, which we'll do either directly with you via email or via the SRDS blog at blog.srds.com. We are absolutely planning to send out a link. Most likely it will be sent out tomorrow, Wednesday, with the recording from today's session. You'll also be able to find that link when you sign in to SRDS.com later in the week. My name is Mike. I'm Mike Morrow. I'm the Online and Content Marketing Director for Kantar Media SRDS. I'm your host this afternoon, and I'm joined today by a voice that is very likely familiar to many of you, and that's Tina Stevens. She's one of our corporate trainers, who many of you have, I'm sure, spoken with. And with all of this business and logistics out of the way, let me welcome you all once again, and let's get started. Programmatic advertising that's using technology to automate the buying and selling of digital ads is obviously the newest growth area in advertising, and many studies have shown it will only increase in importance and reach. I've personally seen estimates that estimate programmatic spending to be anywhere from $9 billion by 2017 to $53 billion by 2018. And it seems like every week there's a new study coming out with new numbers. Whatever the hype, it's here. Big marketers, big agencies are committing to programmatic. For example, you may have heard that IPG announced it would automate 50% of its media buying over the next several years. Forbes has reported that more than 2/3 of agencies already use automated ad buying for at least 20% of their budgets, and that more than 1/3 of those agencies use it for 60% of their budgets. Nearly half of those agencies, again, expect to use programmatic means for 60% of their budgets by 2015, by the end of this year. More than 98% of the major online publishers in the U.S. already have some form of programmatic ad sales strategy in place for the U.S. market, according to research done by the IAB and the Winterberry Group. Even more telling, that almost 2/3 of marketers plan to double their programmatic ad spend over the next 12 months. Well, despite the projections and the rapid adoption by some advertisers, we've seen a lot of confusion, even controversy, remaining about the different kinds of programmatic deal types, how to get involved, and why to choose different providers. Some of our clients have even asked us privately whether all this is a sign of the impending doom of media agencies and media planning as a profession. We strongly disagree. Instead, we agree with some research recently done by Insight that indicates that individuals, real human beings like you and I and Tina, with significant industry and market knowledge and direct relationships are still crucial for successful online campaigns, whether they run programmatically or not. Programmatic isn't something for us to be afraid of, but a huge opportunity to explore new ways of serving our clients and our brands. Now, many of us have equated programmatic, I think, with RTB, and here lies much of the disconnect, confusion, and anxiety. Of course, RTB is programmatic, but it isn't the only kind. The truth is that programmatic itself is not necessarily so new or so revolutionary, but rather a broader term for the role that technology, just like almost everywhere else in our lives, is speeding things up, automating tedium, making things more efficient, relevant, and targeted. So if we start with a broader definition of programmatic ad buying as using technology to automate digital media buys, then let's look at the 4 distinct types of deals that have been categorized by the IAB, the Interactive Advertising Bureau. First, we have what I mentioned, RTB, open auctions. Now, in an open RTB auction, buyers use technology to bid on impressions based on audiences. They're not buying specific media brands and generally don't know where their ads will run. Unreserved inventory with one seller opening their audiences to all buyers. In a private marketplace, an invitation-only auction are a different deal type, and in these marketplaces or exchanges, a publisher determines which buyers and brands can bid on impressions on their site. We'll talk about these a little bit more in a moment, but this is one seller with a more select number of buyers. Unreserved fixed rate deals, as defined by the IAB, are another distinct type of buys that occur when a publisher makes its inventory available programmatically, but at a set price for a single buyer. We're going to kind of set those aside for the purposes of this conversation. And the fourth kind is an automated guaranteed deal, where the buyer and the seller directly negotiate about reserved inventory. Now, during an automated guaranteed deal, it's really the insertion order, the I/O process, that's digitized. There's automation in the campaign trafficking process. That's why this is considered programmatic as opposed to RTB. Likewise, we're going to elaborate on automated guaranteed shortly, but it's much more similar to what we might say is the old-fashioned way of knowing exactly where your ad is going to run on what site. Moving quickly along here, we've looked at the basic 4 kinds of deals defined by the IAB, hopefully given everybody a little bit of reassurance that programmatic buying isn't going to eliminate our profession. What else is holding us back from trying programmatic means? What else makes us feel a little skittish? Well, many folks have legitimate concerns over things like fraud, viewability, brand safety, and transparency. I'm showing a graphic here from eMarketer that shows these, along with quality of environment, as main factors influencing the quality of a digital media buy. And I encourage you to go take a look at some of this eMarketer data in more detail if you want to study those graphs a little more closely. The IAB has estimated that about 36% of website traffic is considered fake. That's a scary truth for buyers that are allocating so much of their budget to display, and specifically to open RTB auctions. In fact, that's always been the major criticism of open ad exchanges, that they may be more likely to deliver on what some may see as fraudulent impressions. These blind buying models can be perceived as complicated, can be perceived as not being as transparent as some of these other methods, and buyers sometimes tell us that they feel like they're transacting within a black box. I'm trying to be careful not to say that open RTB is bad, because it's obviously not. It's extremely powerful in many certain circumstances. Just making sure that we're addressing that in terms of these issues of fraud and viewability. Now, the IAB is working hard on all of our behalf to combat fraud. You can learn more by visiting that IAB address on your screen. It's iab.net/anti-fraud. But as so often happens, the market itself may be becoming the arbiter of how we address some of these main programmatic concerns. Barry Lowenthal, president of the Media Kitchen, announced in a recent Ad Exchanger article, it was in late 2014, that he believes this year, 2015, will be, quote, the year of the digital private marketplace. At face value, it's easy to see why. Marketers can buy impressions from safe brands, they can target specific audiences. Within a private marketplace, a buyer has clarity around the site or the group of sites their ads will run on, audience, and other data. Amid all the concerns of blind RTB that I mentioned, many buyers are looking for smarter buys, and publishers are then allocating their higher quality inventory to private marketplace channels. Private marketplaces provide security and can better guarantee that ads won't appear on fraudulent sites. They also offer the kind of one-to-one relationships that I think we all know can save the day if everything doesn't go according to plan. Sure, I'm not the only one on the call that that's happened to. On the automated guaranteed side, there are some solutions to address these concerns as well. So while some industry experts have heralded private marketplaces as the way to combat the lack of transparency in open exchanges, it's pretty interesting, I think, to us that many of the technology platforms that we work with in this space are investing heavily in building their own automated guaranteed marketplaces. Late last year, we saw Rubicon Project, known for their private marketplaces, acquire both iSocket for advertisers and Shiny Ads, two automated guaranteed platforms that we work with in SRDS. I think that investment speaks volumes. I've seen more eMarketer numbers that say automated guaranteed will reach $8.5 billion in spending by 2016 and will represent 42% of programmatic ad expenditure in the United States. And that will be 8% up from the previous year. Ultimately, automated guaranteed deals help planners spend less time in spreadsheets, taking the manual labor out of the equation and allowing your teams to be more flexible, to be more creative, and do what a lot of us do best, which is working on optimizing a campaign and a strategy rather than working with the I/O trafficking and insertion process. In fact, many of the automated guaranteed providers we've spoken with, they promise that processes that used to take days or weeks can now take place in minutes or hours with their automated guaranteed platforms. And all of this with the benefit of knowing exactly what sites, what ad units you're buying, where it's going to appear on the site, often with a viewability guarantee, and what you're spending. Now, while many of the names that have been associated with programmatic right now and in 2014 and as we head into 2015 are million-dollar brands, agencies, and publishers, we definitely believe that it's much more likely and a huge opportunity for more small and mid-sized agencies and publishers getting into the programmatic mix. Currently, we've seen the data that smaller and mid-sized folks do remain ambivalent. A Strata survey of 75 smaller and mid-tier agencies reported that 94% of those 75 companies say they either don't trust or are undecided about the legitimacy of programmatic buying through exchanges. We think that's going to change. We agree with a DoubleClick study that was recently commissioned with Ad Age, where advertisers said the primary benefits of programmatic, particularly private marketplaces and automated guaranteed, are the ability to more effectively target consumers across the digital media platforms where their attention is being spent, increasing your operational efficiency, and providing more relevance in marketing messaging. And those are broad points, but they're all principles that I think all of us on this call can get behind. You know, in traditional advertising, I think, you know, when some of us were coming up, a big budget meant that a buyer had to outspend the competition to get the best positioning, the best reach, the best frequency. The more a buyer spent, the more exclusivity he or she can buy. Now, while dollars are still an important part in programmatic, it kind of changes the game a little bit, and I think that's where some of the excited hype and talk kind of comes into play, because we really have new opportunities ahead of us to replace mass advertising with personalized communications that add value to our individuals' experiences. Data-driven targeting allows our messages to reach the right person at the right time, and it's already starting to happen beyond the web, beyond mobile, and coming into video and TV. It's only going to increase in importance. And none of this gets rid of the real advantage that so many of us believe that our agencies and that our companies bring, and that's the advantage of our people, our excellent strategies. It's very much that combination of data, technology platforms, and our expert teams with deep knowledge and client expertise that will ultimately win the day, whether we use programmatic methodologies or more traditional methodologies. So how does one get started? That's one of the biggest questions I think Tina probably hears and that a lot of our client services folks hear when they walk into a company for the first time and start talking about some of this stuff. Well, just as we have always worked to keep you up to date with all the opportunities available for any media type in the SRDS.com database, you know, newspapers, magazines, TV stations, radio stations, direct marketing lists, Here at SRDS.com, we've spent the last year adding information and partnering with companies to provide programmatic inventory that is available on websites from within the SRDS.com platform that you likely already subscribe to. So logging in today to your account, you can find almost 7,000 available pieces of inventory available in both automated guaranteed marketplaces and private marketplace from Rubicon Project, with over 1,000 sites and publishers offering programmatic inventory through SRDS.com every day. As of today, our partners for providing this inventory data are, I mentioned Rubicon Project, but also PubMatic, AdSlot, iSocket for advertisers, Shiny Ads, and Buy-Sell Ads. And this inventory, it's changing and growing daily. So every day you come in and look, you're going to find something that might be available and that might be more appropriate for your clients or for your brand. So I want to hand things over to Tina, and she can give you a much more hands-on look at this in SRDS and give you some good ways to kind of get in and get your feet wet with this information, with this background, and how to really make it work for you and how to really get in and see the programmatic information in SRDS.com. Tina, you want to take it away?
I sure do. So thanks, Mike. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through and give you a look at how SRDS, a trusted and familiar media discovery resource, can now help you in your programmatic endeavors. Since June, as Mike said, SRDS has been aggregating and integrating inventory and pricing from the partners he mentioned: Rubicon Project, iSocket, Buy-Sell Ads, Shiny Ads, PubMatic, and most recently AdSlot. And as he also said, it's a combination of opportunities, automated guaranteed as well as private marketplace, which just means that you have choices depending on what your objectives are. And with over 7,000 pieces of inventory for you to consider, with the inventory changing daily, it just means, again, more opportunities for you. He didn't mention this, but we do have 4 new partners whose inventory will be integrated into the site over the next few months. So make sure you're in there frequently seeing what opportunities are available. So let's talk a little bit about how you actually get to this information. And there are 3 ways that you can do this. I'm going to start by going in to the website section of the digital media database. And this is the section of the digital database where all 21,000 plus websites that we've identified that accept advertising live for you to find and consider. And you're going to want to start in this section of the database when you're really in those initial stages of just wanting to find opportunities to consider. Maybe you're not even thinking programmatic, you're just thinking, I need to find some websites to take a look at for this plan. So when you go into the website section, just like when you do any other database search in any other SRDS database, you're going to select from the filtering categories provided to you to find results that meet your criteria. So you can search for websites by display ad size if your creative is set. You can search by consumer or business-to-business classification, and these are the same classifications that you may be familiar with from our business and consumer websites. You can, databases. You can even find websites by market. If you're not sure what DMA your market falls into, this Find DMA lookup here to the right is a really nice feature. You can plug in a zip code and be pulled into the appropriate DMA for the zip code, enter a city and state, a county and state. You can even pull up every DMA for your selected state. But we're going to go ahead and make some selections to bring up some results to review. And when your results load in the center of the screen, as they always do, as you're reviewing the snapshot overview, the list view, any site that has inventory and pricing available through one of our current vendors is going to have, as part of their snapshot overview, here to the right, this as low as pricing information. So for Us Weekly, you can see that Us Weekly has CPMs from as low as $3. And if you want more detail about actually who has what inventory at what price, click on that Pricing Details button. What that does is it opens a window and shows you exactly that. Who has inventory for Us Weekly, what inventory do they have, and what price are they charging for it. So in this case, you can see iSocket has inventory. If you want to learn more about iSocket, click on the blue link to their FAQ page. We tell you if they have any minimums. We tell you how they sell the inventory. And if you're not sure, you don't remember what automated guaranteed means or private marketplace, click on the question mark to the right. That's going to load up a nice definition for you to get you back up to speed. We tell you the inventory they have, the size, the location, accepted formats, any targeting options, and the price. And again, if you're not sure about the pricing information, click on the question mark here to the right to get more information. If you see some inventory that you like, click Add to Campaign. If you've ever created a report in any of the other SRDS databases, this is the same concept as tagging a listing for your report. Adding to campaign sets that inventory aside for you to do something with it before you leave the site. I always tell people, make sure you go through the entire window. You want to see all opportunities available. You also want to see if other vendors have inventory you might be interested in. And you can see here, Rubicon Project also has inventory for Us Weekly. Their inventory is private marketplace. But make sure you go through, review all the options, add anything else of interest to campaign. Once you've scrolled through the entire window, X out and move on. So that's one way of getting to this programmatic information. But let's say you're a little bit further ahead in the game and you know from the get-go you only want to look at and consider websites that have the programmatic inventory and pricing in their listing. In those cases, you're going to want to go straight into the programmatic section. What the programmatic section is, it's an extraction of the website section. So what we did was we took all of the websites from above who have inventory and pricing in their listing, and we put them in the programmatic section. So again, if you know from the get-go you only want to look at sites with inventory and pricing, go straight to the programmatic section. You're going to filter just like you did in the website section, with the exception of using a platform option as well. But you can filter again by display ad size, the same classifications we just saw, or by market. And when you bring up your results in the programmatic section, in this case, they come back sorted by Compete Unique Visitor Number. So Compete is our partner for providing a unique visitor number on virtually all of the digital listings on a monthly basis. That's how your results are sorted in the programmatic section. You can always resort in alpha order or by price if you choose. If you want to see the full SRDS listing for any of the results, click on the image or click on the name to load the full listing. But again, we're going to show you what sites meet your criteria. We're going to give you that as low as pricing here to the right. Click pricing details to see more information about who has what inventory at what price. Add any inventory of interest to campaign. Scroll through the whole window so you're not missing any options. When you're done, X out and move on. The last way that you can get to this information is by going straight to the listing itself. There are always situations where either a client has dictated certain sites they want you to work with, or maybe you've worked with these sites in the past and you want to see what inventory and pricing are available in the SRDS listing. Do a title search for the listing. Oops. Make sure you select title only. I can't talk and type at the same time. I haven't perfected that yet. So once you spell the name of the site correctly and you remember to select title only, when the result loads in the center of the screen, it looks like that snapshot overview. So you're going to see this pricing details button here. But let's say you're in a hurry, you miss that pricing details button, you go straight into the listing itself. Any of the website listings who have inventory and pricing available through one of our vendor partners, part of their listing is now going to include a tab called Programmatic Opportunities. When you click on that tab, the same type of information we would have seen under that pricing details button comes up. So who has what inventory at what price? Again, add any inventory to campaign that you're interested in. Scroll through and see who else might have inventory of interest. Add that to campaign. When you're done, move on. So go through, do all the searching that makes sense for you. When you're done and you've tagged all the inventory of interest, just like with reports, upper right-hand corner here, in this case we're going to click on digital campaigns. That gathers everything we've tagged, gives us the opportunity to do a final review, final edit. Delete all deletes everything that we've added to campaign and allows you to start from scratch. X to the right here of individual inventory will delete that inventory from your list. The printer icon here in the upper right corner, that prints everything on the screen. So everything you've set aside across all vendors. The print option in the vendor window will print what you've set aside for that individual vendor, and download actually downloads all of the detail about the inventory for that vendor that you've set aside and added to your campaign. And this is a really nice feature because what it does is it takes all of that information about the sites, their URL, all of the minimums, how the inventory is sold, the detail on the type of inventory, size, location, format, targeting, pricing, puts it into a format that's easy for you to save, to use for evaluation and comparison purposes, to hand off to your ATD or buying team. But it gives you a lot of options based on whatever makes sense for you. The last thing, if you choose, is you have an option of actually acting on this inventory that you found. And acting on the inventory can mean really whatever you want it to mean. It can mean connecting with a vendor you haven't worked with before. It can mean finding out how to submit an order RFP or how to configure your campaign, or learn more about the reporting options and optimization, or even buy the inventory. So when you click on Proceed to Order RFP, we begin the handoff process. And when you click Submit, you'll be leaving the SRDS.com site and being transferred to the vendor site. As you might imagine, each vendor is different in the way that they work, but you can expect that you will be contacted either via email or by phone by that vendor. We've really worked hard to try and take the intimidation of the programmatic buying process out of the equation. So as you can see here, there are many options of how you can utilize all of this new information regardless of your internal processes or procedures. Whether you're using it for research and comparison, to evaluate and consider websites, to see what inventory and pricing options you may be missing out on, or even to buy what you see. Remember, our goal is really to save you time by enabling you to do all of these things in one visit. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Mike and see if there's time for a question or two.
Sure, thanks Tina, that was awesome. And make sure guys that if you have any detailed questions about what you just saw Tina walk through, you can get in touch with her or through the SRDS.com site, and you can schedule a one-on-one training with Tina. So we just have a couple moments, and if you have additional questions, go ahead and submit them to the web chat host. We'll do our best to compile them, and if we can't answer them now, we'll answer them later. We did get a couple that were coming through while you were talking, Tina. One of which is, we have set prices with a couple of the companies you are partnering with, so if we went through SRDS, would we still be eligible for that rate?
Yeah, and that's a really good question that's come up on a number of the trainings I've conducted. And yes, you would. When you submit your RFP, you'll have the opportunity to enter your pre-negotiated rate.
Okay, thank you. How much of your inventory is automated guaranteed versus private?
Well, as Mike and I both mentioned, we currently have nearly 7,000 pieces of inventory across all of our partners. And close to 90% of that is automated guaranteed. Again, due to the direction the industry is headed, we want to make sure that we have the type of inventory that agencies and advertising companies are looking for.
Okay. This one might be related. If I only want to see private marketplace avails on your site, how can I search on that?
Well, that's a really good question. So currently, Rubicon Project has private marketplace inventory. So when you go into the programmatic section of the digital media database, One of the filters all the way down towards the bottom are the individual vendor partners. So you could filter on Rubicon project, and that would make sure that you're getting to private marketplace information.
Good. Okay, thank you, Tina. All right, put up on the screen here our 800 number and a form where you can contact us if you have any additional questions. We'll answer the ones that we didn't get to. We'll try and get to those on the blog, or if you want to call and chat with Tina directly or any one of our sales reps, we'd be happy to help you out. We will be sending you the link to today's program, and if you're looking for more educational opportunities about the programmatic and digital advertising space, I also want to put in a plug for blog.srds.com, where hopefully we'll have some more resources for you available soon. Thank you so much for your time today. Have a wonderful afternoon and enjoy seizing the opportunity of programmatic. Thanks, everybody.